This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about Harlan County, USA from 1976, directed by Barbara Kopple. The tagline for this documentary film, RJ.
Mm-hmm.
Which side are you on?
Are there sides in the game of life?
There is. And synopsis. This film documents the coal miners' strike against the Brookside mine of the Eastover Mining Company in Harlan County, Kentucky in June 1973. Eastover's refusal to sign a contract where the miners joined with the United Mine Workers of America led to the strike, which lasted more than a year and included violent battles between gun-toting company thugs, scabs, and the picketing miners and their supportive womenfolk. Director Barbara Kopple puts the strike into perspective by giving us some background on the historical plight of the miners and some history of the UMWA.
What do they mean by womenfolk?
Just plain womenfolk, RJ.
Is that like a term that gets used?
In the documentary? No.
I mean, in real life.
Yeah, I think so. At some point in time. I'm not sure if it's still in the language actively, other than ironically, I suppose.
Do people say manfolk?
The menfolk?
Yeah, menfolk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not? Why not? So our
I'm just curious.
RJ,
Yeah.
Were you familiar with Harlan County, USA?
No.
At all?
No.
Okay. All right.
But I know I am to understand now that it is something of a popular film. Or not popular, but people recognize it in certain sections.
Well-regarded documentary film making.
That's what I said.
American film.
Yeah, that's totally what I said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this before. Being a fan of documentary filmmaking, this one had kind of popped up on my radar many years ago. Being part of the Criterion Collection, it gives it that extra little stamp of approval in terms of documentaries you should go out of your way to check out. And 1970s is some prime documentary filmmaking. You get that cinema verite look of how people lived, RJ.
How did they live?
Like this, like the folk of Harlan County,
like the woman and men folk,
Kentucky. Yeah,
Kentucky.
That's where Amazon's got, I think, big warehouse in Kentucky.
They have one in Kentucky?
I think so. I think it's because it's fairly centrally located geographically, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch McConnell, the minority leader of the Senate in the U.S., that's his home state as well.
How do you feel about that guy?
He's what a guy.
Mm. Yeah, I have no opinions. I don't live in the States, so it's like it's like I don't know,
Yeah. So let's just jump into it. It's kind of always difficult. I mean, to talk about documentaries.
It can be.
Yeah. So I mean,
can be.
How many documentaries have we talked about up to this point? There's been Salesmen, Grey Gardens,
Give Me Shelter.
Give Me Shelter. I mean, Haxon is kind of a documentary.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So this is the fourth then, I guess?
At least.
Or fifth?
I probably, and then there's making ofs, but I don't count those.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. We've done probably at least 5 by now. And some documentaries are easy to talk about. And then other ones you're kind of like, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Things happen.
Some people are in bad shape. That sucks, I guess.
It's rough.
There you go. I wish I could help them, but
no.
I don't live in 1970s America. I wasn't even born yet. And then that's tough, man. That's really tough.
So here we open up Harlan County, USA, with a super happy fun slide.
There is a super happy fun slide.
Yeah.
So in the intro to this, are you a claustrophobic person?
Not. I don't know if I wouldn't call it like a crippling, but I could relate to the fact that if that was like my job, I would probably quit because I don't think I could handle what that is. So this isn't even actually a depiction of the particular mine that's on strike. This is a neighboring mine that was active, I guess, when the film crew was around, and I guess the cinematographer. They kind of, conclude it's like, I think it's important to probably have some footage of like what mining looks like when we're making a documentary about miners. Fair point. So this opens up with a bunch of guys who are getting ready for work, or actually are like at work, and they're going to go down into a mine shaft, and it's just like one like kind of big long kind of conveyor belt system, and you just get pulled down, and
it's like by a T-bar.
Yeah, and you're just sliding down, and you have to like, it's real low. I mean, we're talking, I don't know,
like 3 feet at max.
Maybe 3.5. I think at one point someone says like 42 inches high. So yeah, you'd be looking at just over 3.5 feet high, and that's it. That's your clearance. So yeah, you lay down flat in this bed, this metal thing with your gear, which I noticed there's not a lot of respirators going on.
I don't think that was a thing, Jared.
No, I guess not.
And I mean, I think some of the companies at display in this thing, they make a point of saying, that disease thing, that respiratory thing, yeah, it's like that only happens to like a couple of people. It's not even worth mentioning. So we don't need respirators.
It's so curious because I mean, I feel like the discourse around the wellness and health, safety hasn't really changed too much, be it company or politicians, when such important things as the economy are on the line. It seems like conveniently, if I kind of wave a piece of paper around kind of with enough emphasis, I'd be like, well, clearly I have that information on this sheet of paper and everyone has access to it. So I'm just going to say, well, I mean, only actually 10% of the time it's overstated. The fact that here's like a montage of footage of men all going to the doctor to find out, well, I got the black lung. But it's not all the way there yet, so you don't qualify for disability yet. You have to wait till your lungs are completely shot before we consider it being sick. You understand?
Yeah, I do understand.
Yeah. That's kind of jumping ahead a little bit to the my note on just black lung as a talking point. But so yeah, we get this. I don't know if you've ever been out to like the Crow's Nest Pass. Outside of here in Creepsville, where you can go check out the museum. We had Frank Slide, which famously exploded.
Well, Jared, I don't know. Pretty soon, you might not have to check out the museum. If our current government has anything to do, you might be able to check out a real operational mine.
Well, there's still operational mining going on.
Yeah, but
there.
Even more.
Our one of our dear listeners, Shane O'Mac, could tell you all about it.
Is he operational up there?
He is.
Wow.
Doing a little bit of welding here and there, I hear. I haven't heard from Shane O'Mac for a while, so hopefully he can chime in.
I wonder if he's still around.
He is. I don't know if he's still listening, though.
Physically or metaphysically?
Physically, he's still around. Metaphysically, unknown.
Okay. Yep, understood.
Yeah, so my note here is mining. What a horrifying looking job.
Yeah, it looks absolutely fucking horrible.
But you know what? When it's the job that pays your bills, I guess you'll get used to it.
I know, and I know that's what life is for a lot of people in the world. Yep. I never thought I was claustrophobic, but like I think I am. And like watching movies like this, like that opening scene made me really uncomfortable. I was just like I'm like I couldn't do that. I just know I couldn't. I would just be homeless and poor. Because I just couldn't do it.
But you know what's great, RJ?
You could do that
in America. You could have a job and still be homeless and poor and have a job. Isn't that incredible?
Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. I can't wait for something like that. Can you tell me how to achieve such things?
Well, let me tell you about a little country called America. Let's be not to pick on them. It could be anywhere.
Anywhere,
right
USA.
in our own backyard.
Well, Canada's got their own problems.
There's problems everywhere. Everything's terrible.
Yes.
So, my comment here is, I'm under a mountain, because that's the thing. These are the things you start thinking about. That's what really fuels the claustrophobia of being, miles under the surface. And this isn't like a fun time like My Bloody Valentine, where you can be stalked and killed by a maniac serial killer killing people on Valentine's Day.
In a mine with like high clearance, though.
Very high movie clearances.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a whole different ball game. It's like if My Bloody Valentine was like 3 feet crawling,
it's not a very good movie.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like The Descent.
Well, that's a different type of movie altogether.
Well, a different ball game.
Yeah, that's when you got Nosferatu people.
Yeah, well, don't get those confused with actual Nosferatus.
Yeah, watch out, guys.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my note here of no masks, no ventilators, and then you also have these grinding death machines. There's just like this metal machine just churning and carving through rock. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, that does that to rock. What would that do to me?
No, I can't mention it on there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story afterwards. Yeah, that's horrifying, and I think that's a real thing that happens to a lot of people. Sadly.
Well, yeah, the snapshot of contemporary mining of 1974 or 1973 is that it's like, yeah, people just die like all the time. It's just part of the job. Mm-hmm. And that was just A-okay. I'm not sure if what the mortality of a coal miner is in terms of like accidental death at the job workplace. I'm not sure if I'm hoping it's much improved from this period of time 50 years ago, but I have my doubts, especially when you go to other countries that maybe don't have like,
standards,
OSHA and the kind of thing like that. Occupational hazards.
Yeah, I think I don't know about now. I mean, I know there is still always, that doesn't go away. But I think in the movie, what they say, one person dies a week in mines or something like that?
Maybe a week or a month. There's numbers.
I swear there's a line in the movie where it's like across America.
Yes, I think it's across America.
Yeah, a week.
And then I'm sure there will be a guy who comes up running with like a sheet of paper going, no. Well, actually, we've looked at the data and that's not what it tells you. I mean, don't listen to what these guys are telling you. They're not your friend.
They say these big wigs,
these unioners, these guys, they want a union.
These guys up here, these guys.
Who's got your best interests in mind, huh?
No.
These slicked back sideburns men in hideous suits.
They say, let me tell you a story
Yeah.
About coming to America. The land of opportunity, Jared. Maybe one day you'll own your own coal mine if you stick this through.
So this, RJ, is kind of your day in the life of a Kentucky coal miner. And here's a fact for you. I don't know if you know this until you watch this. There is an old coal mining guy singing on every porch in America.
I didn't realize that before watching this movie, but it became abundantly clear. Every coal mine town has several old banjo men playing at all given times. Such tunes as They Don't Care About Your Health Care and other tunes like The Black Lung Will Get Ya.
As written and sung by Hazel Dickens.
Hazel Dickens.
How about Cold-Blooded Murder, written and sung by Hazel Dickens?
Yep, that's an absolute banger.
How about Dark as a Dungeon, written by Merle Travis, sung by David Morris?
Yeah, it's terrific. It's one of the best.
Come All You Coal Miners, written and sung by Sarah Gunnins.
Yeah, that's also one of the best.
Of course, there's Mannington, written by Hazel Dickens, sung by David Morris.
Yeah, that's another one. It's great. It's one of the best.
Coal Tattoo, additional lyrics and sung by David Morris.
That's also, it's just absolute bangers in this show.
Yeah.
Some of the songs are really good. You listen to them and you're like, man, what a good jig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this I guess kind of folk music, bluegrass, people yodeling. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the right word for it, but
They're doing something.
they're belting out these songs. They're sing talking.
Yodeling and chodeling.
Mm-hmm. Chodeling.
Is that not the correct word for that?
I'm not sure.
Well, in my mind, it's right.
So we get a little bit of like information in terms of like there's a strike going on.
Yes.
They have this group of miners at the was it the Eastover Mining Company. They have kind of they've joined what's the name of it? The United Mine Workers of America union. They've done it, and now they've got a deal. And the problem is that the mining company's like, nuh-uh. Like we're refusing.
We're not gonna make good on that deal.
They don't have. I mean, they don't. Like, yeah, it's one of those things where like, hey, this is the group. This is what you're gonna have to do if you want to work with these workers. And they go, no. You're like, oh, okay. So you have no workers because they've all joined this union. It's backed by this fairly large block of union power, and they're not going back to work until you sign this deal to negotiate that labor that you're going to be using regardless. And they're like, nuh-uh. And it seems to be like, no, we don't want any involvement with the union. Or like if you do, it's like we want one of our picks from one of our other unions in another state or another mine. We'll take that deal. These guys can't have this. So you have two forces. You got management and you have the worker. The story is old as time. We get kind of little summation, little snapshots, I guess, of why we've come to this. We have like one old man talking about mule safety. Talking about like this old guy just telling like how he would go describing his horrible job being a coal miner, and you'd be working with the mules, and at the end of the day your supervisor, he's like making sure you got to protect that mule. You got to make sure that mule's okay at the end of the day. And then he's like, well, what about me? It's like, yeah, I don't care. You got to protect that mule. Now, which I was thinking, like, you know what? I could see like this would appeal to RJ to some degree. Where he's like, people, they're horrible. That mule, though, you got to protect that mule.
I mean, I did agree with that a lot because I was also like, who's watching out for the mule? Because it's like the mule's not choosing to be there, Jared. Mule doesn't have consent. You know about consent?
It's got hay to eat, I guess.
It's got hay, but it don't got no consent there, man. Where the boys, they do, I guess. But is it indentured consent? Is like they have to be there? Man, this is a bridges and roads thing again. Yeah. It's getting kind of bigger. There's also that talk about that guy telling the story about the kids working there.
Oh yeah, yes,
yeah. I'm sure you were getting to, but. Yeah, it's all the 10-year-old kids who had the first like strike because it's like we were tired of getting smacked in the head and getting killed by the machines. 10 years old,
making 5 cents.
Or it was like one. It was something like 5 and a fifth of a cent.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, guy with the white piece of paper running out. It was 5 1/4.
I remember because it was the way they phrased it was weird. He was like, it was a 5 1/5 of a cent. I was like, 1/5 of a cent.
So I just want to mention here that I think what did they say? They went on strike. They like wildcatted it because it's the old days. Unions hadn't become like so legislated that they're like people go, why can't unions accomplish anything? It's like because it's so policed in the favor of the company. Like they're allowed to exist, but like it's so like, well, we got to consider the stake of the company and the owner and the management. We got to think about it from their perspective. The laws have been very careful about this, about regulating how much power unions have, because otherwise they just take over. So, you get this thing where it's like, oh, we got like 7 cents. We're up to 7 cents, 7 to 8%. Which of course, guy coming out running with this piece of paper is like, they got a 50% increase in 1 year. These children working in our
8-year-olds are getting demand.
Nothing to even be said about the beatings.
No, if you didn't pick up the shell, just a smack right in the back of the head. It said, pick up that there shell.
Yeah,
pick it up there, boy.
Oh,
That's how they talked.
That's how they got. We get some sweet footage of John Lewis, the feral Union man. I sent you. I sent you a screenshot of this. This is like some some vintage footage of this guy. He like his hair and eyebrows.
I was gonna say he's got some Dean Stockwell eyebrows right there.
Oh, the times something else.
He would have been great for Denis Villeneuve's Dune.
Mixed with David Lynch.
Well, just a little bit. That's what the Dune was missing.
Yeah, this is an old time Union man. This John Lewis talking about the industrialists and the capitalists who desire to make money from your misery.
And what did they do after that?
What did they do after that? Well, depending on where you are, people are killed. RJ. It turns out money is a powerful motivator. And when suddenly mobs of people start coming together, they don't take kindly to it because they're like, they might try to do something else. We better hire ourselves some security, and that's where the violence kicks off, and people are killed or murdered, wrongfully killing, to defend those interests. Until some of those laws step in and go, okay, you guys, you just can't go around killing things you don't like. Stop that, Pinkertons. Stop that, gun thugs.
Gum thugs?
Gun thugs.
Oh, I thought you said gum thugs.
The gum thugs? Well, watch out for them, too.
What do you think gum thugs do?
They put their gum in your hair. And then you're like, I gotta put peanut butter in to get it out.
Does that actually work?
No. I probably not.
No, that's okay. Never mind.
That's okay. You freeze it.
Yeah, keep going.
You wind up like Lisa Simpson.
Yeah.
Who famously.
But hey, she got a dental plan.
She got a dental plan after some striking.
I was going to put that as our Wednesday Dudes post, was a screenshot of that. But it was already in my review on Letterboxd, so it felt like overkill.
That is overkill.
You know what I mean?
You don't speak for me.
Yeah, but you're like Gummy Joe with old Choppa there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You are Gummy Joe. Yeah.
So yeah, we've got the menfolk, the workers who are going on strike. But RJ, another big chunk of this effort is the women, the wives. Mothers, basically they're all wives though of mine workers in this community, because that's the job, that is what you do, and you basically live in this company town, in these I don't even call them, they're not trailers, but these buildings that don't have running water. It's basically, you got to live in squalor. And the whole idea is like, well, I mean, sometimes you have heat. And sometimes you got food too. Sometimes that's where you got to work. For your, was it $2 an hour, $5 an hour, depending on how long you've been with them.
Yeah, and but then what happens?
What do you mean? What happened? I don't know what you mean.
After the squalor, profit?
Oh, right. Yeah, there's these vague things because we always we kind of like cut, because we cut back sometimes to management's perspective. My favorite perspective in all labor disputes is like, I want to know what the management has to say, because it's always like, oh well, we were planning on moving them, but this all came up. I'm like, oh, I'm sure you were. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you'll follow up on that real soon. It's always so convenient. It's so weird timing.
Well, that's every time. Well, we were doing this.
Yeah, get us off our back. It's like, they're always like, they make these comments that just like they think it makes them, I don't know, lovable or something like that. But it's like, no, they're assholes. They're always assholes.
I like that one guy who's talking about, it's like, what, you want me to reach up into the sky and grab the pie and put it into your hands? He's like, is that what you want me to do? You want me to get the pie in the sky? Then
he combs those sideburns.
He does, and he brushes his wings back a little bit. But in the way he's just like yelling at him, he's like, you going after me for not doing enough. What do you want me to do? You want me to get the ungettable? I can't. He said, be grateful. Be grateful.
And then, RJ, speaking of gun thugs, we got Basil Collins, who watches over this striking, this picket. That of course, this picket is there essentially to create the presence that like this is going on, drum up support. It is great for morale of everybody because like it's depressing to be on a strike where you're like, oh, we have to like keep doing this for as long as it takes, I guess. But no one knows how long that's going to be. Everybody probably sets out with a strike being like, this could be over in like 3 days because the company wants to keep making money. So like, how long will they like stare across at us from like the yard with machine guns eventually, and make it so that like they'll concede or give up some concessions and then negotiate so that we can go back to business. Well, in the case of the Harlan County, USA documentary strike, 14 months. 14 months. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot when you say it like that necessarily, but every day probably grows more and more of a struggle because picketing is ultimately boring. You're outside, standing around, walking around, holding a sign. And there's points where it's completely pointless because there's like kind of high tide and low tide of like when there's activity. Either in this occasion, you're being confronted with the scabs, who are the people that the company are going to hire to do the job that you're not willing to do because you're on strike. But we got to keep making money, so we're just going to ship these guys through past the picket line so we can keep this mine going, keep the money flowing, and prove a point that you are disposable at the end of the day. And of course, there's this fear amongst the management that like, well, these picketers, they're going to be violent. They're going to feel their livelihoods threatened. Of course they will. And they're going to do something and prevent our scabs from crossing the line. Well, we got to have security. We have to have men that will get truncheons and weapons and protect our precious scab workers to make sure that they get across that picket line safely. And yeah, this is just this ongoing strategy of wearing down the opposition because it turns into a war where there is like these laws that govern it. One of which is that when you're a picket, you can't block traffic. You cannot inhibit the ability to move on a road or whatever. So
is that still the case?
Yes, very much.
Is it in Canada?
Yes.
Even 2 months ago?
Yes. You cannot block. You cannot block a public road. That is a no-go. Even I remember there was some debate of whether or not there's some footage of strikers that John Deere plant, one of the John Deere plants that was on strike 4 or 5 months ago, and there's these guys kind of like standing in this way across the thing, and they're like, they're blocking the roads. It's like, oh no, we're in a protest. We're having a protest. We're having a march. It's like, I'm sorry that at this very moment in time that we're crossing the road when you happen to be trying to get across of it. We're very apologetic about this. So again, it's about framing things, I suppose. Yeah. So this is like this is an era though where it's like people don't have phones. They don't have smartphones and camcorders left and right. They are out in the middle of nowhere, up on a mountain, and it's basically the workers, the wives of the workers who are all like on the same page. They basically want to live a life, not die, starve to death, have families, and they are pitted against the government, who's like, well, this strike's not good for the economy. This union business is no good, not at all. The company itself, obviously, does not want this going on for their reasons. The police are always, interesting how they choose which side of the matter they come on. They're there to enforce the rules, which is weirdly enough always perhaps in the favor of one side or the other. As is discussed here, how it always turns out that all these powers come on the same page against the worker every single time. It's just a pure coincidence.
How would you go against the worker?
How would I?
Yeah, if you had to form a plan to get to get them guys?
Well,
what would you do?
Well, luckily, RJ. Well, or unfortunately, I guess I'm not management material. So
But what if you were, Jarrett?
well, that's how people need to pay me. I need to get paid for my my sinister union breaking strategies.
Oh, okay.
Well, but most of them just like probably do a Google search now. They look up how to break a union, and they all have the same talking points. Just the other week, we had CP Rail go on strike here in our neck of the woods. That lasted a couple days, but right away, that company, they were on it talking about median wages and just how greedy these train conductors were being. Oh, they want more money. They're trying to get. It's like they never really say like, oh, so trying to get blood from a stone. It's like this company's so rich, like they make so much money.
Mm-hmm.
No,
isn't that always the case?
Yeah,
for anyone striking in any occupation or career,
they're just greedy. They don't.
Well, they already get this much.
RJ, have you considered our financial stability?
Have you considered this? And then you do the remember Generation X. You go. There. Yeah, it's the second time generation or wrestling's been brought up. Well, consider the people, Jarrett.
The people.
Consider the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People power.
Yeah. What about people power?
Well,
is it close to desert power?
Somewhat.
In some way.
Somewhat.
Okay.
So yeah, we get footage, kind of again historical footage of the police being rolled in to assist with strikes, just to make sure financial stability and the institution are retained, not as an intimidation factor at all. Even though there's footage here of just this one particular deputy just lording over this like much shorter picketer, making sure it's like his authority is respected and you understand you're going to obey my authority, and just looking down at him. That's just like, wow, there you go. Wow, how things change, RJ.
Is there any authority that you demand?
Well, the only authority I respect though is of this town's judge. What do you recall his name, RJ?
I remember Brunner. That's the only name I remember. But he's one of the scabs.
I think that's one. I think that's
one.
the guy who shoot. Yeah, that's the guy who shoots the picketer. No, the name of the judge is his last name is Hogg, double G, Judge Hogg.
I do remember that now, Judge Hogg.
Yeah, so we got the justices who were like, oh, we don't like how you were trying to interrupt them. Those workers trying to get to their jobs, aka the scabs, and it's like, oh, you're trying to imbibe in their ability to move freely. So there's injunctions against these picketers, and they just get picked up by the cops, thrown in the back of the car, make sure that the law is followed. They're very motivated. The state and business working hand in hand. What a beautiful thing, RJ. Beautiful thing.
I mean, in some places.
And then, of course, it's called out in the courtroom. I guess when I was watching the making of that particular woman, she had been microphoned, but like the cinematographer was like way back. It was like having to be kind of a little sneaky to get like this grainy shot from way back in the distance. And she's just like kind of just calling out the bullshit of this. Of course, just falls on the deaf ears of Judge Hogg, who just saunters away in his judicial robes.
What kind of robes would you have for what are the podcast robes?
Podcasting robes? Oh man, my
sweatpants.
How about a gi?
Ooh, gis don't seem like the thing that you could fight in. Hey,
would doing some tossing, jiu-jitsu.
They don't seem like the ideal clothing for that, but they are.
No.
I guess.
No.
I guess.
I guess one thing I could mention too is how so Barbara Kopple, I guess she started out originally making a documentary about the Tony Boyle situation, who is the president of the UMWA, and trying to get rid of Tony Boyle, who there was like questions of whether or not, did he have a competition murdered?
Sure seems that way.
Which
who's to say?
RJ? Jock Yablonsky. You know that story has been dramatized in the film Acts of Vengeance, starring Charles Bronson as Jock Yablonsky, and playing Tony Boyle, Wilfred Brimley.
Bronson and Brimley?
Yeah, together.
And was it an action-packed riot?
Barn burner.
A barn burner?
That's right.
Were there any barns in there?
What's that?
Were there any barns?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
There could have been. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds okay. I mean, I'm not going to watch it, but...
So she started off that way, but then she actually kind of wound up going to this strike against the Duke Power Company. And, she kind of got, like, sucked into what was happening. This New York filmmaker they described as a hippie crew from New York that were hanging out. There was a lot of suspicion of being like, what is this? What's going on? Who's this chick and this guy filming us? What do they want? And I guess they talked it out. They got it figured out. And I guess one of the stories with this documentary is that probably there was a lot of factors probably that kind of wound up ending the strike. The one that they kind of focus in on at the end of the documentary is the murder or killing of the one striker.
The alleged murder.
Yeah, the alleged. And how like that made the company go, ooh, well, maybe things got too little serious. But
we didn't mean to do that.
But I guess some have said that it's probably like one of the things that helped with the strike being able to go as long as it did without like other measures being taken was that there was a film crew there. Mm-hmm. So it's a question of documentaries having an impact on their subject, RJ.
It's
changing the story.
It's create your own narrative, Jarrett.
Oh.
Are you a bridge or are you a road?
That's right.
What are you?
What are you?
You tell me, man. You tell me.
Yeah. So at one point, we get some footage of going to the New York Stock Exchange. Right.
Yeah, there's
right
a bit there.
There's an information picket going on there, and we get an exchange between one of the miners and a cop, looking like he could be in like a Larry Cohen movie from the time. Mm-hmm. And this cop's just like, "What? How much money are you making? That's nothing. I make $7 an hour."
Oh, I got dental. I got medical. I could retire when I'm 36. And I don't give a frig.
Yeah. 20 making $20K. And if
Did that guy really retire at 36?
Probably. Oh. I mean, but he could keep going though too. If he started really young, and he might
started like 18.
Yeah, might want be a cop, and probably his brother's a cop, and his dad's a cop.
We all cops. We eat the donuts. Hey.
But there is like this really great little bit though where they're talking about I think the mine because the cop's saying like your job's dangerous, like you're getting paid $5 an hour. It's like we're $6 an hour, so I make $7 an hour. And they're like, well, is your job dangerous? It's like what? This I do a lot of this. It's bullshit. It's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, I tried to screenshot it on the YouTube, but it didn't caption at that moment. But yeah, I like that when the guy's like, who's like, well, me? He's like, this is what I'm doing right now. Is bullshitting with you. He's like, I'm not dangerous.
Well, he's not dangerous. The job. It's a lot of standing around.
It's all bullshit.
Yeah, I believe the cinematographer's like, I think made some real cool. This is a meeting of the proletariat.
You hate to see it.
The common struggle of the man when they meet and talk and they realize that they have the same struggles.
Yeah. How do you struggle?
Well, with black lung, but I don't. Fortunately, not because I'm not a coal miner. But
you could hang out with me; you'll get it.
Yeah, it's at this. So it's after the information picket sequence that we get the black lung information.
Disposition.
Yeah, we get that breakdown. You go, oh yeah, seems like a real medical problem that should probably be addressed in some way, or so people don't have to. But the company's like, well, we got to squeeze everything out of you before you go. And then after that, so long.
Well, that was what's that line in that song where it's like, they don't care about you until you're already disabled or something like that. Or it's like, work you until you're disabled.
Yep.
I don't know. One of the doctors said something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. But
pretty much. So then we get the kind of the montage of corruption that is kind of even with that's happening with the union itself. This stuff with Tony Boyle, who doesn't seem like they're doing things in the best interests of the workers. And it seems like this is about staying in power. There's allegations about where's that money going. Because I think at this point there's also some comment about like Hoffa being in jail.
In jail or somewhere else?
Well, I think he might have went to jail and then maybe got out and then went somewhere else. Till Handland.
Handland?
Yeah. So yeah, you've got Tony Boyle. Then you got this Jock Yablonsky man. Who was like running against Tony Boyle, I think in like 1969, and Jock Yablonsky is murdered. Him and his wife and his daughter in like the bedroom next door are all killed in the dead of the night. Tony Boyle, he win, or sorry, I think he lost the election first there. So Tony Boyle did win the election, and then a few months later, Jock Yablonsky was killed, and then there was some talk about like what was going on, and then they started actually there's questions raised, and this eventually led to the election being overturned. And this is when we get Arnold Miller, who runs against Tony Boyle, and then I think the way the documentary presents it, Arnold Miller then wins that election in like 1972. And then, like, right afterwards, Tony Boyle's arrested. And he makes this comment about, like, it's like, no one gave me a heads up. No one told me it was coming. I'm like, because that's what happens. The police give you a phone call and go, excuse me, Mr. Boyle, sir. We're going to come and arrest you. Better get out of there and make sure all the paperwork and, like, the real ledgers are hidden so we don't find them. But no, he went away, and there's like that footage of him like being brought up the courtroom stairs, and he's just like aged like I don't know 100 years in a matter of like days or whatever, however it feels like. And you're like, oh, is this like that whole scam like where lawyers will tell you put on neck brace on, it'll make you more sympathetic.
Yeah, I can't remember. It
was like Weinstein too, though. Like,
yeah,
like he was like he was selling his walker, and suddenly Bill Cosby's blind, and all these things. All this stuff suddenly comes about. All of a sudden.
Yeah, this is gonna date the podcast a bit, but I saw a really funny tweet where it was like if the Academy was smart, they'd let Chris Rock present the next award in a neck brace. Like they let him. Yeah, you see. I don't know what that meant. It sounded funny to me because it's relevant, but I still don't really quite know what it means.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Yeah, who's to say?
So RJ, from a position of being, say, a union person,
yes, I'm part of a union.
If you were, say, like, okay, we got a new, we want to figure this out. We're going to have a new contract, but you are not able to strike. There's a clause in it. It's like you cannot strike. What would you do with that?
I mean, this might sound bad, but it's like I need a job, so like I don't know how to not like if they're like you can't have this and keep your job. I'd go.
Well,
okay.
But you keep your job, but you have no contract, and then they have to eventually either deal or no deal.
See, the thing is,
they can't just fire you. That's one of the strengths, RJ, of unionization is they can't just fire you because you don't vote a particular way. Now they might strategize down the road and think of ways to like lay people off, but that's kind of the seniority system that kind of protects up top, and it kind of victimizes the junior members. That again, old management tricks.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the only thing is, see, it's really tough, but I do have a contract. And even if they're like, do you want a new one? I'd be like, I already got one.
Well, remember, this is your collective bargaining agreement. This isn't your actual contract. And they could not actually, if you had a one-on-one contract, like a job contract, they could not ask you that because your union would go, no. And then that's pretty well the end of that. Like they couldn't ask you because that's actually in the language of a collective agreement that they would
I
not,
see.
that would prevent that from ever happening. Though they're always working hard to like figure out ways to undermine solidarity, because they would try to like say, well, we're going to have different classifications of employees, and then those will have different rules that apply to them. And then it winds up creating division when it comes to these issues, because you can target one group and have one that seems to be benefiting more than the other, and then the other group is more resentful of their fellow worker than they are against the people who are making those decisions in a legal capacity. So yeah, the struggle is real, is what I'm saying.
How do you struggle though outside of that?
Outside of that,
Tell the listeners out there, what's your struggle?
what in like labor wise, or
In anything, I guess. Yeah, I mean, labor is it like physical labor or mental, emotional, metaphysical, spiritual? Yeah.
Anyway, so the part of this that like feels like a capturing of the drag, I guess, of a union is just like, again, it comes down to the morale issue. Like there's bits where you've got your picket captains and like kind of the actual like kind of key executives of a union who are like start browbeating the membership, like, hey guys, there's only like 6 people out there picketing, we need more than that. And it's because you're getting paid to be on strike. I mean, it's a pittance compared to your regular wage, but I mean, I think it's like $2 an hour to be on strike. Your wage is $5 an hour, so you're making like $100 a month. It's like, well, you need to be making more than that to stay keep your head above water. Even if it's worth at $50 an hour or $50 a month, I can't specifically remember, but yeah, it's ridiculous. Maybe $50. Anyways, numbers.
$50 a month. That you could get a lot of big gulps with that.
You sure could.
Well, to a point.
I can't remember what the specifics were. I think it's $2 an hour. So it depends on what your day is.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have no idea how that kind of stuff works.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, there's like kind of like the kind of the, hey, you got to get out there. There's the guy driving around the truck with the PA system, trying to like hustle up people to get together, go in front of the mining company, which of course, it's like, where's the owner? Is he even in town anymore? Is he hiding somewhere? Is he at his second house? Nowhere near the problems of this town, or like the people who like maybe like own stores, and maybe they're just company stores for all we know. But the entire economy is impacted by this going on. So of course the population from the city or from that little town probably aren't supportive of this. They might be at the beginning, but as this drags on, there's going to be ups and downs in terms of people's response to what's going on. Because there's like, this is a nonsense. Just get back to work. What's the big deal? But it is a big deal, because this is what it is forever and ever. It's because, and this company is obviously very invested in seeing it not succeed.
Yeah.
Hey, this is kind of like jumping ahead a little bit to like kind of like what you would maybe call the climax of the film. I think, because there's a lot of things start breaking down. There's the gun thugs. They're taking shots. Yep. There's weapons being shown, and there's like, again, Basil Collins, who's asking for Barbara Kopple's identifications and having a nice little friendly chat. Speaking of like great, he'd be a great villain in a fictional story.
Basil Collins,
yeah,
he could be the leader of the Minions.
The Minions. But he's like, he seems so nice, doesn't he? And then he starts reaching for something in his pocket and flashing it around and just making sure keeping everyone honest. I'm sure in his mind, because he's like, oh yeah, and he's got a reputation. It's like, oh yeah, he enjoys his job.
Well, they're like, oh that guy loves doing what he does. It's like, you see it, you see what he does.
Flashing his gun around, breaking up the ticket, making sure, again, delivering those scabs safely to work. But yeah, at this point, the machine gun's coming out and shots are being fired at people, just to spice things up a little bit.
Well, just a little. You always got to spice things up a little bit, Jarrett.
Which of course pushes people further away from the site, so they can't be as effective. But yeah, then like there is this ongoing kind of element though. It seems like the wives of the miners, they seem to be like far more like on the same page, far more, a lot more united, and like very much like this is their fight just as much as is the miners, and they're just like, well, the miners just seem to be like, oh, I don't know, I don't even know what to do anymore. Very despondent, but they're like, there's no time for that. So they're right there. They're not part of. They're not getting paid. But they're like, this is our lives too, dudes. So they're right there. There's the one woman that's pretty prominent in there with her gun in her bra. So it's like, that's got its safety on. Even if it goes off, it just shoots my tit off. You ever worried about that?
Excuse me?
That's a quote. That's Lois Scott is her name.
Interesting.
But she's the one that's keeping them.
Yeah, I do remember her pulling that gun out. Yeah, and you're just like, here it is, and you go, whoa.
Yep. Well, hey, because it's like they've got guns, and we're not supposed to have guns. It's like, not anymore. And then there comes that point where after these shots are being fired, where there is this standoff that comes out where it's like, well, fuck, we gotta make a stand here, and they take a car and they actually do block the road, and it prevents them from coming, and they've got like a line of people who are like standing behind vehicles ready to go. The sheriff rolls in. He makes his first appearance that I remember, and he's like, you gotta move that car, I'm just doing my job here, you can't block that public roadway. And then they're like, but then it's like they present him with a warrant for the arrest of Basil Collins. And he's like, we gotta pay me the $8. And to which I go, RJ, how many times have you had to pay like small town sheriff to do their job?
There was this one time when I was feeling like I was walking tall, but I was really walking small, because the sheriff was the one who was really like
a real Buford.
Yeah, and like that dude, he was a good dude, but like, did he deserve what we were giving him? I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so, Jarrett. So, tough stuff.
Yeah.
Tough stuff.
So yeah, and at this point, like, yeah, there is this like tension of like what's going to happen, but it seems like there's actual momentum. It's really like amazing, like fly on the wall filmmaking, where it's like, oh, they actually document this and they cover it, and it's like, oh, there's like a beginning, middle, and an end. And it's like, and they turn them around. They sent him back that day. It's like, it's a small little victory, and that seems to kind of kick off like a boost of morale, like those small little victories that can like break up this again. You know, you're 9 months in, and it's just like not ending, and you're like, at that point, it just becomes your life, and you can't even imagine going back to work. But they send him back, and then there's a sequence where we get some flying pickets, some fellow members of the United Miners Workers coming through town because they've heard about the plight. We got Jock Yablonsky's son, Chip, who's there with Arnold Miller, and they're there like having a big parade with all these old miners. It's a big show of force, solidarity, all that. But there's this one bit where they kind of cut to like one of the younger miners, and he's like, well, maybe when the flying pickets came down here, we could have done more, or done something. Like maybe we could just like gone up to the mine and just taken those machine guns away.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, it's like, what are they going to do? Murder us all? It's like, there's more.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, that's the sort of shit that I mean, you go back to the 1920s and 30s. One day, RJ, we'll be talking about a movie. It's a fictional, or not fictional. It's a dramatization of just that type of conflict happening with labor strife. And how do you feel about Whitland? You like Whitland?
Which one's Whitland?
Whitland, where you're just carving up that wood. You got your piece of wood.
Oh, I see.
There's a lot of whittling going on.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of banjoing. There's a lot of singing and song telling and storytelling, for that matter. Yes. There's a lot in this one, Jarrett.
There is a little bit.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we get brains.
Yes, we do.
We get some shot of human brains, because there's been a killing. there's been a murder that I believe was I watched a NBC clip from YouTube that was talking about bloody Harlan, and yeah, I guess that was it adjourned or something like that. But it was just like kind of acquitted. He was acquitted. It was like self-defense, the brains, because that guy died. So
the brains. He gets let off. It gets mentioned.
Yeah, about a year later, and but that violence sort of you could say is like the impetus for like the wrapping up of the strike. I've read somewhere, and I think it was the NBC clip too, and it's like, basically the same day as the funeral, they ratified the deal. They made a deal with the company using the union that they wanted, probably with some concessions or whatever to make it a little palatable for this poor struggling mining company. And but then we kind of like jump ahead, and you're like, it's a big win, and like now all these people are like, fuck, it's so weird to go back to work. Like my life has become being a picketer and being on strike for like 12 months of my life, for 14 months of my life, and now I got to go back to work. Like nothing's changed. Like nothing changed, but something has changed. And then we get kind of this like final, like in the 15 minutes where you get the kind of the grim realities of union life and what union is, and like about compromise in terms of like these power structures, that nothing is perfect, and it's like your leadership even in your union might not have your back, and they're like, we got to sign this good deal because we're now negotiating these deals like on a large scale. And everyone's going to make their vote, and it's like on a national level, and it's like even if like one particular mine company or one group of miners says like we don't like this deal at all, too bad, you can't even go on strike. And they're like, well, that's bullshit. But I don't, again, people are frustrated and pissed, and you get all this great footage of union men just fucking pissed off and bitching and complaining, and they're talking about like 0.2s and 0.4s and talking about your 13 weeks you get, and it's like, you get 5 days leave, you have 5 days leave, I get 5 days just to get a doctor's note. And the guy just pops that cigarette in his mouth with these great hats. Oh yeah, it's so good. This is like, this is what I like to see. I want to see unions, and I want to see like guys who are pissed off at their union. It's perfect.
Time capsule.
Yep.
It works. It works.
You should love your union, but also hate it. It's the way it should be. But and then you get this like, you get a little more of that sample of like, the Secretary of the Treasury is involved, and he's going to make sure that this deal goes through, and they're going to have a conversation with Arnold Miller, make sure that he's going to approve this message of this new contract deal. It's got some compromises, but it's the best of the era. It's the best there is, because it's all about selling it. And sometimes you got to question whether or not maybe your bargaining team doesn't have your best interests in mind when it's all said and done, because maybe they got someone else's ear, their ear is being had by somebody else that's not in your best interest. But they're be saying, oh no, buddy, don't believe me. Why would I lie to you?
Why would you lie to them, Jared?
Why would you? Well, because you never know. I can't see everyone's bank accounts.
Well, they can see yours though.
They might. So. Yeah, and then the film ends with back to work. You get some like kind of bummer footage of these old guys chewing some tobacco, going in for their shift, and they're just like, well, I mean, this is what it is. This is what my life is. I've been here for 13 years. I've been wanting a raise for this entire time, and even at the end of all this, I still don't get it. No.
Well, they try.
The struggle is real.
Which struggle? How do you struggle?
The class struggle.
Oh, right.
The day-to-day struggle. No.
That old chestnut, eh?
That old chestnut. So anyways, to conclude, Harlan County, USA. What do you say about a documentary about this subject matter, other than like, I mean, I'm on the same page with this politically. One of my favorite little bits on Wikipedia on the critical response, we get film critic Dennis Schwartz, like the documentary, yet found flaw in it providing only one point of view. He described the film as one of the better and more rousing labor strike films that calls attention to class war in America, though it doesn't offer enough analysis or balance on the issues. It sees the struggle solely through the miners' eyes. The film does a good job chronicling the plight of the miners, telling their personal stories in a moving way, and the meaningful, catchy coal mining songs add to the emotional impact of the historical event. My umbrage there is that it's only through the miners' eyes. I'm like, yeah, we need to really know what upper management has to say about it.
I mean, I think
both sides, RJ. I want a little bit more of both sides. I'm like, no, fuck you.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they show you the other side briefly.
Yeah, there's not much. There's really not much to it.
Yeah, they show it briefly, but it's there.
Yeah, this is one of the great flaws of people's reasoning. Sometimes they just assume, well, you got to present both sides, and you go, no, you don't. You don't. No. You don't necessarily. Some sides aren't worth really. There's not much to discuss.
I mean, that is true.
Yeah,
that is true. That's why people don't listen to half of these reviews.
Exactly.
They say some sides aren't worth listening to. That's when I come in.
So RJ, I think Harlan County is pretty good because it kind of it adds to the discourse that I think is very lacking, even today, more so than ever. I think around kind of like what the struggle is, and these are like people that's like they definitely are not being given a fair shake, and this is kind of the only way that they can stand up and push back is through unity, solidarity. Because otherwise they're just going to get pushed around. As individuals, they will fail, but together they're a force to be reckoned with. RJ, what did you think of Harlan County, USA?
What's left to say about such a thing? No, I mean it's good. I liked it. For me, more than anything, I just liked seeing, as you pointed out, like 70s dudes in weird hats smoking cigarettes and just yelling about stuff. I liked all that. I was like, yeah.
Old men saying in regards to gun thugs. So I tell everybody, take to the shelter if you can and lay the lead to them.
Well, I mean, I've heard you say that several times in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. Not on podcast, obviously, but...
There's a bit where the camera kind of pans off to like a guy who's just like sitting there and he's got this smirk on his face. He's just like so amused by this old angry man who's like, I've been here before.
And you go, yes, I like this. I like all that stuff. The union stuff is I don't know, it's super interesting to watch, and I think you put it a little bit more eloquently. You're just like, yes, the way you described it is good. It's cool to see that stuff. I'm for these boys. Give them your best, man. That coal mining stuff, it's scary. It don't look good. I don't want to do it. So it's like those boys who will do it, you should probably take care of them, I guess, the best that you can. It's funny the way the world works, right? Those labor jobs that are the worst get paid the worst, but no one else wants to do it. So fuck them, I guess, is the approach people have taken on that. But I don't know. I don't know what else there's to say. You handled it on this one, Jarrett. You real handled that one. You discussed Harlan County in full detail. You got it. It's a good little doc. As we said before, docs are kind of hard sometimes. Like depending on the content, some docs are very well done, and you're like, yeah, that's great. And then some documentaries are Give Me Shelter, and you go, yeah. That's just me. I know a lot of other people don't agree with that, but when I watched that one, I went, yeah. But I don't know. I'm for the coal miners.
Oh, I just remembered another documentary, and I can't believe I forgot about it. Burden of Dreams. But which is also like a making of, but I think it kind of transcends that. I think
it fits into doc in a way. Harlan County is it's good. It's a slice of life, some would say. You know about slice of life, Jared?
Yeah, you're about. You've been talking for about 2 to 3 minutes so far.
I don't know what else to say. I don't know if you realize
this 1 hour.
I was going to say
monologuing.
I don't know if you realize, but you have been talking for 1 hour and 10 minutes.
1 hour and 4 minutes. Well, 1 hour, one hour, 1 hour and 1 minute.
So I don't know if you realize, but you have been talking for about an hour.
I'm aware.
Which is, I ain't mad at it. I'm cool with that. But I what I'm saying is, I don't know what is left to say about this movie. You kind of, you did it. If that does that make? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You discussed it. I like the music in this movie. I think that's cool. I like the scenes in the doctor's office where it's just a bunch of old sick men, and you're like, these guys are dying because of their job, and you go, that's a bummer. That's sad. But this whole movie's just a bummer because it's like, these guys are doing this, these guys are doing that, and they ain't getting a fair shake, and you go, oh, it's kind of bad. I like the sandwiches that play in this movie. There's a lot of like just cheese sandwiches, which I think are an interesting oddity. You know, where it's like a single cheese slice in a sandwich? I saw that a lot in this movie, and I was like, cheese sandwiches. Is that something people eat? Still? No? Or is that something you make for kids? You know what I mean? Or is that just a poverty sandwich? Could be that.
Could be.
Not sure. But yeah, I don't have much to say. It's like I said, I think you kind of covered it. But I can talk about Harlan County War if you want.
No, please. I watched, like, I don't know, 15 minutes of this. And, like, every time I heard Ted Levine's voice, I perked up a little bit. But, man, this, like, it just seemed like such a snooze.
Okay, so Harlan County War is the 2000 dramatization, which feels like a 1991 dramatization of this. Like, it doesn't feel like a 2000s movie. It feels way older.
What's a TV movie? Keeping that in mind.
Yeah, but it still feels older. So Ted Levine is one of the Coleman, and you see him in a gratuitous sex scene with Holly Hunter, and it was weird and it was out of place. But so what it is this movie's all about Holly Hunter. She's the wife of like she's married to Ted Levine. He's on coal miner strike, and it's all about like the ladies that were involved in this. So like all like the wives of the coal miners on strike and like what they did at the time, which I guess is a neat idea. But this movie is very much like it's almost an exact quote, not quite, but she's like, when Stellan Skarsgård, you know, the Baron, when he's there, he's like the union rep, and he's there trying to get like a feel of the people, and he's talking to her, and he's like, well, what do you think? Or like, what do you do here? And it's like, what's your deal? And she's like, I can't go do all that. He's like, I want you to come. He's like, you seem like a smart person.
I mean, how can Baron Harkonnen be here as well? That
carrying? Well, the spice allows you to travel through time in like a metaphysical sense. We haven't gotten there yet. That's later in the Dune books, my friend. Mm-hmm. So Stellan Skarsgård is like, he's like, you're a smart lady. I need you. And she's like, I don't got time for that. She's like, I got to do the laundry. I got to prep the dinner. I got to keep these men in line. I got to protect them kids. And it ain't even noon yet. It's like that's almost a direct quote. This movie is a lot of that, where it's like, hey, I know these ladies work very hard, but it's a lot of pouring on in that sense, where it's like I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and it's like, this is America. If you don't like it, you better leave. And you go, okay. This movie's got a really weird thing where when the songs kick in, it switches to black and white. I don't know why. I mean, I guess because of the documentary, but whenever the songs come in, they switch to black and white. They tried to get a banjo like a banjo song in this. It's at a campfire, and Ted Levine, he's just kind of like screaming. He's like, oh, and like that's all he's doing, and you're like, what is this? And then two weird things with Holly Hunter. She gets invited to a stockholder meeting, because she buys a single stock so that she can go speak for the miners. And she's there, and they're like eating like steak and lobster, and like everyone's really fancy at the stockholder thing. And she's like, I don't even know how to eat this crawdaddy, and like, you know, fish out of water stuff. But I was like, what's up with this fancy dinner? This seems strangely out of place. And then Holly Hunter clubs a man to death.
Oh.
There's a scene where the wives attack attack the scabs. Yeah. And they pull one of the scabs out, and she clubs a dude to death. And you go, oh.
Did she get away with it?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't fully die. He kind of rolls over later, but
so he wasn't clubbed to death at all.
Well, he's pretty close. Like,
he was
honestly,
clubbed.
It's like It's like a 3-minute long beating. That's how long the beating is.
Did he earn it?
I mean, he was trying to drive in to be the scab.
Well, I mean, yeah.
So you take that as it is.
Fuck scabs, RJ.
Yeah, that's what they tell you. That's what they tell you. So, anyways, that's Harlan County War.
Wow. You heard it here first, folks. What a scoop.
Well, a scoop. Well,
and RJ took the hit on that one.
Yeah. Well, I knew. I had a feeling you were potentially into Harlan County, so I was like, I think Jared's going to talk about this one for a while. Maybe I better watch this made-for-TV film.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's where I went with that one.
Want to hear from some people who hate Harlan County, USA?
Sure.
So I don't even know what this person's name is. Is it Butterfly?
It's a butterfly emoji, apparently.
Yeah, that's their name. 0.5 star. This made me wish I was deaf. They don't like the music, I guess. Or maybe they're not a fan of 1976 limited audio mixing for this documentary.
The music is terrific. Their bio is I love bread and Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, good Lord.
And their picture is The Corpse Bride. Favorite films include The Corpse Bride, Labyrinth, Howl's Moving Castle, and It Happened One Night. So big anime boys over here for Butterfly. And nothing else interesting.
I'm not really into these hate people. They're whatever.
They're hot takes.
But how about 1.5 stars from Eugene McCran?
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of things aren't my cup of tea. Guilty conscience, one-sided arguments despite the objective goal of verite, docu-advocation, too many digressions with the miners' wives, bad soundtrack. What happened seems atrocious, and I dutifully felt bad.
They gave Tremors 2 0.5 star. I don't think Tremors 2 is that bad of a movie. They also give Wishmaster 0.5 star, which also isn't that bad of a movie. Not really. This person, Eugene McCran, has their bio: attorney, cinephile, an unfortunate tandem. And then they have 100-point scale conversion chart, Jarrett.
Oh, boy.
91 to 100, 5 stars.
Oh, God, wow. Huge.
81 to 90, 4.5 stars.
I wonder why
do people
Eugene has a guilty conscience. I didn't have a guilty conscience.
No, neither did I.
Yeah.
But attorney.
That's weird.
Favorite films include Bound, Stray Dogs, Prime Cut, and Andrei Rublev. The 100-point scale thing annoys me because it's like, it's not needed, bud. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares. You know what I mean, Jer?
Mm-hmm.
So that's that, dude.
Yeah. That's that. I'm done with these.
With these scabs?
These fucking...
Scabs?
I don't know. What's the word for it? They're not scabbing.
Scabs?
I don't think they're going to be going down no fucking mine shaft.
Scabs?
Scabs.
Yeah, scabs.
Yeah.
Probably
Probably
scabs.
Suckers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. A bunch of suckers.
I agree.
No. Well, RJ, any final thoughts on Harlan County, USA?
I feel like I've been talking for so long. I
you
feel like
shut up.
I don't think I can get 2 cents in, let alone 1 cent.
Mm-hmm. Not even one.
No, I don't know. It's a good show. Check it out.
Check it out.
That's my review.
After the break, keep your brains inside your head, folks. And fuck gun thugs.
Who? Gum?
Fill 'em with lead.